Hey there, Average Joes. Welcome back to the Eternal Struggle. I'm your average host, JayMang. Today, I'm joined once again by my taller than average co-host, Tall, Shark, and Handsome. How are you doing today, Shark?
I am doing well. I had a great week actually. Last weekend I went to the Baltimore Tattoo Convention, found a whole bunch of tattoo artists that I fucking really like. Got this is all their shit, kind of like when I went to PAX.
Jesus Christ.
Um,
That's a lot of shit.
yeah, I have a lot of ideas for tattoos that I want. Enough money for them, so we'll see how that goes.
We never
Um,
have enough money for tattoos, do we?
no, not all the ones that you want. And I've had some pretty good success in Eternal, and we'll talk about that later too. And I'm really stoked for this new set. I'm just ready to get right into it. How about you? How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I had a really nice low-key weekend. I spent some time playing the ECQ, and then I spent the rest of the weekend working around the house. So it was pretty good, and I think I'm having another low-key weekend coming up this weekend, so I'm pretty excited about that. So why don't we go ahead and jump into your week in Eternal?
So my weekend Eternal. Last month I didn't have enough time to play because I was working. I was basically doing two jobs. And then this week I dropped off of the old job and I'm finally officially now in the studio for my new job. So that's awesome. But with that amount of time missed, I didn't actually make it to Masters last month for the first time since I don't even know when. I made it up to Diamond, but I didn't have it was the last day and I was like, I am not going to sit here and jam from Diamond 3 to Masters in one night because I'm going to just get so angry every time I lose. So I dropped down to silver, but I've made it up to, I'm almost at gold one again right now. So I did that over the past couple of days here, playing actually um, Huru aggro, just like Flyers, Huru Flyers.
Hmm.
It's super easy. I dig that deck a lot. But that was actually going to be my brew of the week, but because the meta is going to change, I'm not gonna have that.
No.
So how about you, Jay? How was your week in Eternal?
So I too. So this is the second month that I didn't make Masters, but that's mostly because I just haven't wanted to play a whole lot of Eternal. I don't know if
Hmm.
it's just set 5.5 in general or what, but I just haven't had a whole lot of interest since the campaign dropped.
Mm-hmm.
But I was interested in playing the ECQ. I told myself that I would practice a lot going into it, and I just didn't. I I spent a couple nights practicing with Huru Control, and I just have to say that I hate literally everybody that convinced me that that deck was a playable deck
I
because
love that deck.
everybody thinks that it's tier one, and I think that the deck, at least in the most popular version, which is obviously like I a fucking net decker and I took the most popular version. The most popular version has some really serious power issues, and like,
Is that the version with Palace?
yes, like
Gotcha.
the deck is very powerful, but it loses to its power base so like way more often than I like to lose to my power base, and it's extremely frustrating. And I kind of got put into a false sense of security because the two nights that I practiced with the deck, it was running really hot for me, and I I noticed a little bit of issues that I had with the power base, but like more often than not, as long as you hit your third power, there's a pretty, or well, especially if you hit your fourth power, there's a pretty good chance you can draw your way out because you have privilege or rank, you have both the draw spells, you have honor of the claws, and I'm sorry, whatever the two card spell is that is escaping my
Privilege
mind
of
right
rank.
now. No, not privilege. Draw two cards. Fast
Oh,
speed.
strategize.
No, but well,
Strategize.
it's fine. Um, but like usually you can draw your way out of it. But like I
Wisdom of
found
Elders.
wisdom of elders. That's what it is. I found myself getting stuck either in a situation where I have to redraw. I will redraw my first hand, and I'll have like a pretty solid hand with 2 power. And it feels really awkward in a deck like that to go down a card when you've got 2 powers, and even like when you're on the draw and you've got like a Wisdom of Elders or something like that in your hand. And I swear at least 3 of my games in the ECQ, I had this shit happen where it's like, it's a pretty solid hand. It has one of my 3 drops, whether it be Privilege or Wisdom. And I have 2 power. I've already redrawn once, and I'm like, I can't really go down a card. This is a pretty decent hand as long as I hit a power, and then I just don't fucking hit the power. Like, I don't like feeling like I have to make those types of decisions because the deck has 0 seek powers. It doesn't play any cargo, and it only plays 25 fucking power. Like, that's fucking garbage. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I think that the deck definitely requires a degree of skill to play. Like, I definitely think that I got rewarded for being patient with the deck in some cases, but I also think that the deck just has to run hot. And that's,
well, there's a different version of Huru Control that I've actually been playing myself as well, or at least I was at the end of last month. And it doesn't actually run Palace.
Yeah, you were playing the Eric version, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's the one with like Sword of the Sight, Sky King, and it has like a couple extra board
Channel
wipes.
The Tempest. Yep, it has the end of the stories. It runs the Honor the Claws, 2 Wisdom of Elders, and strategizes.
Yeah, if I was gonna run it back, I would play that version. Like,
yeah, for sure. Like Palace is great in that it's 3 free spells and your opponent wants to deal with it, but there's only 8 units in the deck, so
yeah. So the greatest bamboozle ever was me being convinced that that deck was a fucking tier 1 deck, because I can fucking tell you right now that there is no fucking way in hell that that deck was a tier 1 deck in the current meta. So if you can't tell, I did pretty poorly in the ECQ. I think I quit playing at 8 and 9. Like, at that point, I was like, there's no fucking way that I'm rattling off that many wins in a row.
Yeah.
There's just no way that I'm rattling off that many games in a row. I was already frustrated. Like, I had played a little under half of my games the night on Friday night, and I was very frustrated Friday night. And then Saturday morning, the fiance and took my son out to the store, and I started playing the rest of my games, and I think I like won the first 2, and I'm like, okay, we're starting to go. And then I lost 3, and I was just like tilting harder than I have tilted in a very, very long time, like screaming at the top of my lungs at my computer, and that's just not healthy. So I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to play anymore. This is what I get for not being in practice. Like, I chose to play the deck that was perceived to be the best deck going in, other than like one of the best decks, because obviously Praxis Pledge was being perceived as the best deck for good reason. And
yeah,
I was deceived that I had been told by a couple of sources that it had a pretty good matchup against Praxis Pledge. Not that it really mattered, because I only saw 1 Praxis Pledge in my entire run.
Wow, you made it to 8 and 9 with only seeing 1 Praxis Pledge? That's amazing.
Yeah, and I beat them really hard too. Like, it wasn't even close. Like, and I saw like 7 Genev Peaks decks, and Genev definitely of any of the like good decks out there, Genev has a pretty good like Horror Control matchup, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So at least the version that I was playing. So like, I was pretty tilted, and I like, that's just what I get for not being in practice. I don't know. Like, I really would like to get a little bit more involved, like competitively. Like I said, I'm hoping, I've said it before, I do hope that they continue to do these monthly events. I think that they're really neat, and they like are a really interesting way to like get that competitiveness out without like having to go play like ETS and stuff like that, because I like being able to play at my own pace personally, and not necessarily like playing Swiss. I do that in Magic already.
Yeah.
This was a really long like my week in Eternal section, but like other than that, after the ECQ, I started playing Reanimator and just fucking winning a lot. So
Cool.
Reanimator like is one of my favorite decks from like this current like set 5 forward. So like I'm glad that it's in a good position to play again, and who knows, maybe it'll continue to see play after set 6 drops.
Yeah, for sure. There's some ideas there.
Yeah, so I quickly want to go over what our topics of the week are, and then I want to preface this section by for all of the people that actually like watch the video. I don't know how many of you actually watch the video. This week it's gonna look like shit, because I didn't put the like they changed the way they do spoilers, and now it just created a whole bunch of extra work for Shark and and I just don't have the time to be cropping and like setting everything up to look nice.
That's
Um,
right. I did it.
yeah, and Shark did do some like fixing to make a few sections at least viewable, but they're not going to look very pretty. So we're going to quickly go over the ECQ results. They don't really matter a whole lot because the meta's changing. We're going to go over a couple of big things that we missed about the new set, Dark Frontier, and then we're going to talk about spoilers that make us jizz our pants, and
Yeah.
then we're going to talk about our favorite deck after that,
Yeah.
and its future. There is no brew of the week this week because, frankly, we don't like. It doesn't matter. Like by the time most people are listening to this, set is either about to come out or has already come out, and anything we came up with didn't matter.
Exactly.
We will talk about our brewskis of the week, like always, and then we have a content creator of the week for you guys that I'm sure a lot of you know.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and go into topic 1, which is the ECQ results. And the ECQ was won by Maanus on Stone Scar Agromid, but second place was Tony G on FJS. FJS making a comeback, making that last stand. How do you feel about Tony G coming in second place on FJS?
I I'm glad that FJS got its final moment in the spotlight, and hopefully it just dies here. I hope that's the end of it.
Yeah. So the rest of the top 8, there were 4 Praxis pledge decks, which we kind of briefly brushed up on, and that is because Praxis Mid, or I'm sorry, Praxis Pledge was a very large portion of the top 64, and apparently like a large portion of just the general meta. I only saw one, so I don't know exactly how true that is as far as like how large in the meta. I think that it just performed very well because it attacked the meta from a standpoint of I'm just gonna fucking slap a bunch of units on board. If you can't deal with it, I win.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
It was definitely a house for the ECQ. But there were 2 other decks that were not Praxis. So the other half of the top 4, who we had Huru midrange, which was kind of what I've been playing, but probably a little bit later on in the curve, and then Genev Peaks. So 5 of the 5 of the top 8 were playing Fire and Time together. It's kind of nuts.
yeah. So, but that doesn't really matter. I mean, congratulations to everybody that did well. I think that we like to meme on Maanus, but like congratulations to him. I'm glad that he, got rewarded for how much work that he puts into the game. Tony G is always a stalwart of the game. Like it's nice to see a bunch of known players. I think Ilian also made top 8. Like just a lot of like named players like showing their prowess in the game.
For sure.
So quickly, let's just show the top 64 pie chart. So Praxis Pledge came in at nearly 50% of the meta, which is
That's absolutely nuts. And then it's 50% of the top 8 too. So
yeah, which is insane. So its conversion rate is about what you expect. And then like the tied for second most popular in top 64 was Stone Scar and Genev Peaks. I'm a little surprised at Stone Scar. Like I know that the unnerfs
yeah.
made the deck stronger, but I didn't know how much stronger it made it. But from what I understand, Stone Scar actually has a pretty good matchup against Praxis, which is maybe why it
That
came out.
very well could be.
And then Reanimator was right behind that. So Reanimator, everybody forgot that it existed. So, anyways, so let's move on to what we have missed since additional information for Dark Frontier has come out.
More spoilers.
Well, we'll definitely get to the spoilers here in a second. But first off, I do want to discuss the last keyword that got revealed that we haven't talked about, and that is shift. Why don't you tell us about shift?
All right, shift is super cool. It's kind of like suspend if you've played Magic, except that instead of changing the amount of turns that it's not in play, it's always 3 turns, and you just change the cost. So the way it works is it's shift and then a number, or just shifted, and the unit is put into play shifted, which means that it can't be targeted, it can't attack, and can't block for 3 turns. And then after that 3rd turn, it gains unblockable for can attack because it's been in play the whole time. So what that means is the unit can't be like removed by single target removal, but it can still die to something like Harsh Rule. But also the passive ability or the summon abilities still happen because it's in play. So if you have something, if you somehow shifted in like a Statuary Maiden, any unit that your opponent that died on your opponent's side of the field would still transform into that, that cudgel, and you'd still get it. Or when you cast, if you somehow shifted the Steward of the Past, it would still, blank. It would still silence all of your opponent's void there. Like that stuff still works. And it's got a kind of a cool animation for the 3 turns. It's like a little triangle, and each corner is lit up. And as the turns go by, it like removes one, and then it gains unblockable.
Yeah, it's definitely a neat ability. It's who knows where or how good it like where it shows up or how good it ends up actually being. I'm curious to see.
Well, I'm pretty stoked about it because you can plan your turns for that kind of thing, and then you can, but it also kind of telegraphs it. I am just very excited that it was named better.
Oh yeah, instead of twisting your nipples. Yeah, I feel you. So there was another very large announcement for the set. So they announced that the set was what we suspected, which was a mono faction themed set. However, there are 10 cards in the set, as you may or may not know, that will be multi-faction. And the first set of those cards are smugglers. They're bringing us the other half of the smugglers. And let me just say that the 2 that I care about did not disappoint.
Oh yeah, for sure. The ones that go into our Blitz deck, the Huru and the Felon ones, they definitely didn't disappoint.
Yes. So let's quickly go over what each one is. So the Stone Scar one is a 3/2 smuggler with shift 3. So the ability that's it. That's the, so you can shift this for 3 and you get your market activation, and then 3 turns later it can attack with unblockable for a turn.
I feel like it's a weird thing to have it have the same exact cost as its regular casting cost for shift.
Yeah, I don't. So this one strikes me kind of odd. I think that the only real good thing about the Stone Scar
is his body, right?
Is the body, yeah, and the body, and the fact that it's a Stone Scar smuggler. I think that it's probably a good thing that they like aggressive. Like I think that they probably could have afforded to make this a 3/3 because shift is such a weird, like kind of benign ability when it. I don't know. Like I think that this is probably the correct power level actually that a smuggler should be.
They probably designed this card before they made the nerf to the Elysian smuggler.
Yeah.
And that would make this the only 3/3 if it was a 3/3. But yeah, this is probably the least exciting of all of them, I think.
Yeah. So Pearl Abbey is the Combre Smuggler, which is a 2/1 that says when you play a spell, it gets +1/+1. So it's very similar to Alessi. And then of course you get to black market.
Yeah, and of course you also get to play Alessi in those colors. So this is pretty bonkers. I think it's really good. And I think a lot of people are going to underestimate it.
Oh yeah, this is definitely fits right into that type of strategy. So. So I think that'll be pretty solid. So then the Horu one is another 3/2 that says onslaught. So if you attack with a unit, you and it's called Rhyme Conclave Smuggler, and both the smuggler and you get Aegis, which is a pretty powerful ability and definitely great for aggressive decks.
Yeah, so you both get Aegis if you had a creature attack this turn. If you had a unit attack this turn. I think this is incredible. It is basically going to be the Genev Merchant if you attacked, and if not, it's going to be the unnerfed version of Genev Merchant plus you get Aegis, and if not, it's still the 3/2 body of the Genev Merchant.
All right, so the Praxis one is East Annex Smuggler. It's a 2/3 with charge. That's it. That's all it is. It's all right. I mean, it's a smuggler. So I'm happy that they seem to be a little bit safer about stats on these units. If Charge Rod ever happens to make a return, this seems like a pretty good addition to it.
Yeah, I also think this could go pretty well in an Inspire themed deck, giving him like double her. I can't tell.
It looks like a her.
Giving her double damage or flying or whatever, what have you, or even with Alhead giving it double the attack and defense. That'd be pretty cool for a charge merchant.
And then the last one is our Feln Smuggler, which is a 1/4 Berserk. That's insane. Like, it dodges torch.
It's insane. I'm pretty sure that I called that exact thing, but on the Huru Merchant.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I called like a 1/4 with Berserk.
I believe we agreed that the Horu one would be Berserk and 1/4.
Like, I don't know what we thought Feln was going to be.
Unblockable something, I think. It was going to be, or yeah. So this neat. I'm glad that they decided to include these, even though we're not getting the other cycle of displays, which is fine. I'm glad that they're trying to encourage mono and two color faction decks, because the other half of the multi-faction cards is a new power cycle, and this power cycle, the entire purpose of it is to encourage you to play two factions in your deck. Each one of them give you two different influences, and they say depleted if you have any cards from other factions in your deck.
Yeah, so if you are playing a 1 or 2 colored, these are dual lands. These are the original dual lands from Magic, the ones that are hundreds and hundreds of dollars. This is awesome. I love this. They're still good in a 3-color deck. It's still, dual power, but they just come into play depleted, and you don't get to scout.
Well, I think you would play the other duels before these, but still.
But there are still some decks that have super, super strict influence requirements, so they would probably still want to get to the 4th, dual land.
Okay. But I think it's important to note that we're only getting 5. We're getting all of the corresponding duels to the smugglers.
Yes. So that's kind of cool. We're getting these smugglers dual lands, but we have the other trios of displays.
Displays. So these are the off faction pairs.
We'll say the enemy factions.
Yeah. Well that's yeah, exactly. We'll stick with that. Okay, so let's go ahead and move right on into topic 3, which is the spoilers that make us splurge into our drawers.
All right, you go first.
All right. So we'll go ahead and I'll just go over the ones that I like, and then I will let Shark take it away from there, and he can talk about the ones that he likes. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with Eclipse Dragon. This is a 5 costing 2 fire influence, 4/4 flying charge, quick draw, and it says at the start of the enemy turn you get 3 power this turn. I think this card is great. I think this card fits into a lot of different archetypes. It definitely fits into any archetypes that, like Genève, for instance, that has like displays. It fits really well into just about any archetype that you can really take advantage of fast spells that cost like around the 3 power threshold. Any thoughts on that?
I think we've talked about this one already. For me, it feels a lot like Thundermaw Hellkite did in Magic the Gathering. I think it's just super solid, going to be a 5 cost, monstrosity to have to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't pass necessarily the stat test for how much the power costs, but you get so many very powerful effects on one card, and it's sure. This card is going to see play 100% somewhere. Okay, so I'll move on to the next one, which is Ice Bolt. This is...
Wow, that looks shitty.
Yeah, it looks like ass. I'm sorry. I'll try to do better next time. But Ice Bolt is a 2-cost single primal faction. Single primal influence fast spell that says deal 7 damage to a unit. Its owner plays a sigil of their choice from their deck depleted. I think this is a very, very powerful addition to control style decks. And I also wouldn't be surprised to see a card like this show up in something like maybe Reanimator, or even like it's possible that like others combo style decks like Blitz, for instance.
You know what deck wants this?
What?
Skycrag aggro.
Yeah.
They want a way to deal with Sandstorm Titan that, and that's the hardest thing that they have to do.
Exactly. Like it's an effect that isn't very readily available in Primal. And the downside to it doesn't really matter if you're killing your opponent that turn, or if you're a control deck and you don't fucking care that they have that extra power.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that this card will see some amount of play as well. So right into that, I'm going to talk about Glimpse the Possibilities, and I really like this card. It is a 2-power time influence spell that says cards in your deck have warp this turn. I really like this because it encourages a certain style of combo deck to be built, and I think that anytime they encourage us to build combo decks makes this game more interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love a combo deck. I am so, I'm so happy to have Almost on my team, who is just the utmost combo player in Eternal right now, I think. And I'm excited to see what we can brew up with this, especially with it only costing 2. I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, it's like I'm very excited to see the combo decks that are born. The only thing that really worries and bothers me is that cool cards like this are legendary. Like, It makes me really sad when cool cards like this are legendary, because I am very hesitant to craft these types of cards for fun, because I want to also be able to play every competitive deck available.
Yeah.
So from there, I'm going to move into Lightning Sprite. This is a 3-cost single primal influence 1/4 unit that has flying, and it says pay 1 and twist her nipples to draw a card and then discard a card. I think this is a very powerful card that can see play in possibly Reanimator style decks, or even any deck that gets value from looting purposes. It's kind of a shame that this isn't a Wisp. Yeah, Kenedans is that's another possibility. And there's even like a world where maybe if this style of deck gets enough support, but this is the kind of card that could exist in a tempo oriented deck. So I think
it's super cool.
Yeah, I think that the ceiling is high on this card, but the floor is extremely low. So it's got like a very wide range. And then the last card I wanted to talk about, and this is mostly for a cool factor. Tellier's Sanctum is a 3-cost single time influence relic that says you may play an additional power card each turn, and it says onslaught, draw a card. There's 2 reasons I want to mention this card. Number 1, this card I think could possibly see play in Rats, because I think that the combo of being able to play a lot of the power that you're drawing from your courtiers is very powerful. You get to draw a card off of it because you're almost always swinging with a rat. It's a relic. Like, there's a lot of reasons why I think this card could see play. But another reason that I wanted to mention this card is because one of my favorite decks in Legacy, Magic the Gathering, is lands, and it plays a card called Exploration that allows you to play an additional land each turn, and this card is that card.
For sure. I think
Yes.
that's actually a really cool idea. I hadn't thought about the rat's implications with it.
Yeah, I don't know how good it is because obviously you are required to have the courtiers, and there's only like a lot of the value you get from the courtier is just removing that from your drawing. So like the first effect of this card may not be like super important late game, but it's very possible that helps you pull away in the early game and allows you to have a very explosive turn where you mark it and also play your overwhelm or whatever the trample, your kill spell in that deck, which, because I can't remember card names.
Bizarre Stampede.
Yes, Bizarre Stampede. Anyways,
Yeah,
so that's all my stuff.
I think this card would be definitely more of a late game card, honestly. Just like, once you've already gotten all the cards for, because we use the courtier in rats to draw those power to be able to mark them away and like swap out into our market.
Yeah.
And I think that this will help us get our power, like grow our power enough to where we can cast those.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, so let's go right into your cards.
My cards, Remembrance. I think this card is super cool. I love reanimating things. I love Reanimator. I love Scream. Haunting Scream is hands down my favorite card. And Remembrance does a cute version of that. It's a 1-cost shadow spell, not a fast spell. It says you play 1 unit from your void with cost 3 or less and shift it. So basically, it can't attack for 3 turns, but it has unblockable when it comes back. So the implications of this are, how about that Kira, who doesn't lose unblockable? And doesn't, like, when it's dead, like, oh no, but then it comes back and it has all those pumps that you had on it before. You could put it on literally anything. You could bring back Hojin. You can bring back a smuggler. You can smuggle immediately. There's a lot of things you can do with this, and I'm excited to see this possibly see play.
I definitely. So here's my only thought is that I currently am not convinced that shift is a good keyword. So I feel like it's pretty detrimental as far as keywords go, but I am curious to see whether or not this card and shift end up actually being better than I think they are.
I think they will. I'm pro shift. You're wary of shift.
Yeah, I'm skeptical. Let's say that. Like I would love to be proved wrong, but I'm skeptical that shift as a keyword, not necessarily that there won't be good shift cards, but I think shift the keyword is like 3 turns is a long time. That's all I got to say.
It really is. All right. My next card that I was interested in is called Phase Out. It is a 1-cost time card. It's a spell that says, God, I can't even
choose a unit and shift it.
Choose a unit and shift it. So it can be one of yours. It can be one of your opponents. So if you know that your opponent like marketed for a removal spell, you can shift your unit. They can't get rid of your unit for 3 turns, and then it has unblockable on your turn, and they're going to die. You can also shift your opponent's unit so that you can swing past it and just deal a bunch of extra damage. I think that'll go really well in a time-based aggressive deck.
Yeah, I really wish this card had fast.
Man, if this card was fast, it would be so broken.
Yeah, I actually think if this card... So here's my argument. I actually think that this is a great offensive spell, but I worry, like, defensive-wise, like, if it was a fast spell, like, I really, really wish it was a fast spell because, like, that would make this card a hell of a lot more playable. I think that it still has like a chance of being playable, but I think if this was a fast spell, that would almost assuredly be a aggressive decks like Dream.
I'm for sure going to be drafting a lot of this card.
Oh yeah, I bet this is great in draft.
Oh yeah, I'm not so sure how competitive it's going to be in ranked, but in draft for sure, this card is going to be. This card really excites me.
Okay.
All right. So for the next one, I've got Thudrock's Masterwork, which is the Yeti sight. Costs 3 and with a double primal influence requirement for a 1 health sight. It
Yikes.
says your Yeti and your snowmen have +1/+1. So this is basically the second of the Yeti lords. Like Wump gives all your Yeti +1/+1. This gives all your Yeti +1/+1. It's super exciting. And then it has the abilities Jump Kick. The spells Jump Kick, which gives one of your units flying and +1/+1 until end of turn. Snowball, which is hilarious. It deals 1 damage to a target. And then Fend Off, which is a new spell. What does it do? It stuns an enemy unit and you scout.
Yeah, I believe that is the 2 things it does.
Yeah. So this card is really cool because it's very, very cheap. And it fits into a Yeti deck. And I'm so excited. I'm just so happy for Bassoon Buffoon about this one.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that they are still willing to print cards like this. Like, I think Tribal is something that it's nice to see Tribal continue to get some support. And especially like Yeti. Yeti is just so close to being a good deck. Like, I think that it's a reasonable deck, but like it's super close to being a good deck.
For sure.
Okay, so moving on.
And then my last one is another primal card. It's called Rost the Walking Glacier. And it is a 5-cost 7/7 giant. It requires 5 primal influence. So that's pretty much a monocolored spell here. But it has Overwhelm and Warp. And it has the ability Entomb. When this unit dies, play him again shifted. So it's like it feels a lot like Revenge. His ability feels a lot like Revenge.
Yeah, Revenge that you know when he comes back. And he has Unblockable.
And he'll have Unblockable when he comes back, and he'll have tries to block him. Your opponent can't chump block him. I think this guy is super cool. And he could actually be like a finisher for a multicolored deck if you have the right, influence going on there.
Yeah, this is definitely a neat card. I like it, and I think that it and the Time one are probably going to prove themselves worthy of seeing some amount of constructed play. These I know that somebody else out there has said this, but these remind me a lot of the Titans of Magic.
Yes, for sure. I want to put this into Overwhelm Rod.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Legion Overwhelm Rod.
It is one of those cards that just it just doesn't die. Like it doesn't really die ever unless it like gets void bound. So,
and if you could somehow reduce its cost by 1, it's screamable.
Oh God, that's gross. I love it. Okay.
All right. That's it for our favorite spoiler cards. Let's move on to the next topic, which is Blitz.
Yes. So I teased earlier that we would talk about our favorite deck. And for those who don't regularly listen to us, that is Dark Blitz. So, Blitz in general, but I'm more of a Dark Blitz kind of person. I know that Shark enjoys like all flavors of Blitz, but I usually only enjoy the JPS versions of the deck. So we wanted to take some time to talk about Blitz today because as our new set is about to drop this week, it is releasing a lot of good cards for Dark Blitz and cards that potentially could bring the archetype back to being very good. So when we had originally brewed the deck, it was towards the end of set 4, correct?
Yep.
Towards the end of set 4, we brewed the deck and almost took the deck, adjusted it a little bit to their own play style, and then top 8'd, what was it, Worlds?
Yes, my teammate almost, if that was unclear. He took it to the top 8 of Worlds with a version of our JPS Blitz. I think he had 8 merchants when we normally had 4.
Yeah, I think that the deck is, or back then was very, 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 very close. It was very close to being a very, very good deck. And I actually think that these new additions are worth talking about because, like, I think you think this, and I know that I think this. This deck has a whole lot of potential to come back fighting really hard.
Oh yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah. And here are the four cards that we are the most interested in. Jay, tell us about the top two.
Okay, so I'm actually going to go with the right two. So the right two
Okay.
are the two smugglers. We had already covered the smugglers a little bit earlier, but I wanted to specifically mention the Horu and the Feln smugglers because they're actually both doing things that the deck really, really likes. So the deck usually plays somewhere in between a tempo and an all-in plan, and I think that Rhyme Conclave Smuggler plays really, really well into the tempo plan where you swing with the unit and you kind of like play this game of cat and mouse with your opponent where they're like, oh, are they going to pump up their unit a whole bunch? Does your opponent have removal? Like, it's a lot of mind games with this deck, in my opinion. And this allows you to be rewarded for playing those mind games because you swing in and then you make your decisions there. If they're just like, oh, let you through, and just be like, okay, well, instead of pumping this guy up because that's only going to get in some damage, like a little bit of damage now, I'm actually going to play the smuggler and give both me and it an Aegis. So I think that that gives you some play. And then on the other side, the found one allows you to play the all in plan because one of the most important pieces to the puzzle of getting a all in one turn combo lethal turn usually involves Berserk. And Berserk is already on the smuggler.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. I do wish that it was more than a one. I wish I had more than one attack. But that's what all the pump spells are for, right? So
Yeah, and I actually think that the fact that it has the four toughness is extremely important. Both of these smugglers, uh, as if you onslaught the horror smuggler or if you play the found smuggler, dodge one of the most played removal spells in the game, which is torch.
for sure, yeah, that's one of the guys where you pump up your berserking unit and they can't torch, your guy's gone in response.
Yeah.
So that's pretty important.
So why don't you tell us about the left side?
Okay, so on the left side we have Kira the Prodigy, which we spoke about I think last week. This is Yodabyte's card that he created with his 1.75 million blue balls. It's the 2-power 2/2 single justice influence. When it gets attack, defense, or battle skills for the turn, she keeps them. So she is so important to this deck. I am so excited that she's back, that she's coming to the deck, and she's only going to be a 2-drop. She's going to get our ghost forms permanently, so the unblockable lifesteal permanently. She's going to get rapid shot +4/+0 and quick draw permanently. She's going to get the reinvigorate, which gives endurance permanently already, and then gives +1/+1 until end of turn for each of her battle skills. She's going to keep that forever. She is going to be a house, a powerhouse. Not to mention the fact that she is a 2-drop, so she comes back to both Scream and what was that card that I just talked about earlier? Remembrance.
It's just such a good card.
It's
so good.
It's so good.
The best part is that it's not a legendary.
It's not a legendary. It can fit in there right next to Hojin, maybe even partially in place of Hojin. I don't know. We'll see. The Hojin is pretty good for the lifesteal, but you can't fit everything into this deck. You're already like tight for spots.
Yeah, the 2-drop slot is pretty tight, so it'll be interesting to see where we end up. So why don't you tell us about the new pump spell coming out?
The new pump spell is called Spiteful Strike. It's a 1-cost shadow fast spell. Give a unit +2/+1 lifesteal and quick draw this turn. So this turns Kira into a 4/3 lifesteal quick draw permanently. So like a super Hojin permanently. And it's just a really good 1-cost fast spell, which our deck really wants. We want the finest hours. We've been playing Lock Horns as well, which is the +3/-1 for one single shadow. And this spiteful strike is probably going to be the third of our single cost, pump spells. So
Yes, definitely.
I think that if we reduce the number of Hojins, we would want to be spiteful strike so that we can get that lifesteal in.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I actually think that I don't want to talk too much about this because it's all number one. I would like to not necessarily reveal what my deck list may look like right away, but like mostly just because I want to tinker around with it for a little while because I'm not real sure what it's going to look like in the end. But I do want to say that I think Spiteful Strike plays really well into that thing I said earlier, where it allows the deck to play either a tempo game plan or a one turn combo deck, because Spiteful Strike plays extremely well with Reinvigorate.
Oh
Re
yeah, gives two abilities
yeah,
plus
this
the two.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No,
I
that's
don't
all right.
mean to. It plays better with Reinvigorate than any of the other pump spells do.
Yeah, for sure. Because
Mm.
this is the only one that actually gives abilities as well.
Yes.
The combo that we were using was Ghost Form, then Ghost Form, then Reinvigorate, because it gives them three abilities, and then plus three plus whatever the unit already had.
Yeah, generally Berserk plus the Reckless as well. Um, so yeah, in case you don't know, usually you don't cast and Reinvigorate until after you've activated Berserk, because Berserk giving you Reckless gives you that extra +1/+1. Um, I do want to mention the kind of the last thing I want to mention about this deck going forward. I don't know if Ghost Form will continue to see play, because I actually think that by adding Kira to the deck, we've hit enough of a incentive to be running Vara's intervention over the Ghost Form, between Ghost Form and Spiteful Strike. So like intervention also acts as a pseudo Dark Return on your Unseen, which
Yeah,
is
so you
very
can get
important.
back the Rilgan's Disciple or Kira, which
Yeah,
is really cool.
especially if that Kira is one that you screamed. Just
Yes.
saying, like that's pretty powerful. And then Spiteful Strike being a little bit better as far as a all around game plan, versus Ghost Form being like a you have to combo this card with other cards. So I actually think that Spiteful Strike is very, very important to the deck becoming a more resilient shell.
Yeah. There was one other card that we wanted to talk about possibly putting into the deck. I don't know if you mentioned it already or not.
I did not.
This card is called Inner Might. It is a 3-cost fast spell, which is really expensive for this Blitz deck. Most of the units don't even cost 3. A couple of them do. And the only more expensive card would be Geomar, and that's because it's absolutely nuts. But Inner Might is a 3-cost fast spell that costs double justice. Give one of your units +1/+1 this turn, plus an additional +1/+1 for each other spell in your void. Now, this could be maybe a market card that you go and get as like your second try at going off. But on its own, the first turn that you go off, this is maybe going to give them +3/+3. Like maybe on the first time. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that it was worth mentioning, but it's always worth mentioning any pump spell that gets made. But this one doesn't feel like it necessarily fits because we just have better options.
Yeah,
I
it's a little
don't,
expensive.
yeah, I don't even know if this makes it into a black market.
Yeah, I mean it's worth trying out, but
Yeah,
yeah, it does seem a little high cost for what the deck is trying to do.
yeah. Okay, so thanks for listening to us talk about our favorite deck, because like that deck just makes us so happy as human beings to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I can speak for both of us in saying that I am and we are extremely happy that it's very likely that that deck will be playable once again. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the brewskis of the week because we have no brew of the week, like we mentioned earlier, since we have a new set coming out and we don't really have a Blitz deck fleshed out yet, anyways. But so my brew of the week this week is I've been showing a lot of platform beers because they're like my current favorite brewery. But Platform Worry No More is a wonderful small batch hazy IPA. And I gotta say, like, I think one of my favorite things about Platform is they seem to produce a bunch of one-offs of like they I feel like they're just like sitting in their meeting room like what kind of random shit can we just throw into this pot and make some beer out of? And that's literally like they just like do a bunch of small batches every year that they'll just never make again. This is one of them. It's very, very tasty.
Got you. That's awesome.
Oh, and I mentioned it before, but they also like put everything that they put into each batch. So, like for instance, this one has 4 different types of grains, 2 different types of hops, some type of yeast that I can't pronounce, and then they'll like put any adjuncts that they put in. So, like it has flaked oats in it.
Oh, flaked oats.
Flaked
How
oats.
special.
What are you drinking this week?
This week I am drinking another Saranac beer. This is the dregs of the Saranac sampler that I got, and it's the Citrus Squeeze.
Oh,
It's okay. There is another beer that I wanted to mention. It is by a brewing company that is right near my house. It is the only IPA that I've found that Mrs. Shark will drink. She generally likes ciders and things. It's called "What Did You Do, Ray?" After the Ghostbusters theme. There, it's an ambrosia milkshake IPA. Ooh. Got a 7.1 alcohol by volume. They brewed it with a whole bunch of marshmallow fluff in it, so it tastes a little bit like a little bit of like a milkshake, but it's really not. Like there's a almost no actual lactose in it. There apparently is a little bit, but
Ooh, yeah, that sounds really good.
Oh yeah, it's super good. They say think beer meets fruit punch, something that could never ever possibly destroy us.
Yeah, right.
And that's the reason why they called it the "What Did You Do, Ray?" Because of the marshmallow enemy from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's super brilliant. I love that. That sounds really good. The brew of the week next week. I'll try to remember to bring it on. But there's actually another platform beer that I have right now that is a specialty where it's like a peanut butter fudge cream puff lager. Because there's a really famous German place in Columbus, Ohio called Schmitz. If you ever find yourself in Columbus, Ohio, you got to go get some German sausages from Schmitz. But they have these famous giant cream puffs, and one of their best ones is like a peanut butter fudge topped cream puff. And they just took that and they were just like, we'll make a beer out of it because why the fuck not? And it's very tasty, very peanut buttery. But I'll talk more about that next week as long as I remember to bring it on. Let's talk about our content creator of the week. Why don't you take this one away?
Content creator of the week is a dude that I really he sometimes he can be a little over the top. But that's just what I love about a content creator is when they're over the top, they're 100% in it, they're overacting. Who cares? That's what you're there for. They're the entertainment. And this content creator of the week is the Platypus King. If you have not heard of the Platypus King, you're wrong. Enough said.
Yeah,
he is the leader of a small kingdom of peasants, and he is the best at what he does. When you go into his stream and you hit follow, he's like, "Welcome to welcome peasant to Platypus Island. I am the Platypus King, leader of all, whatever." He's like this.
Yeah, he's very showmanship.
He has a lot of showmanship. Yeah, he is actually on Team Rankstar, and he does the podcast with Manted Man called Unexpected Results. I think we mentioned him last week when we
Yeah, I believe that was last week. Was when we briefly mentioned platypus when we were talking about Manted Man.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you,
and
you can catch him over at www.twitch.tv/theplatypusking, and go give him a follow, because like I when I first started playing Eternal, I didn't enjoy his persona, but I mean, like, platypus always grows on you. Like,
he does. Yeah, I mean, he had the same kind of feel to me that Jonah Vale did, in that maybe it wasn't exactly for me, but then I noticed that it's kind of a show that he's putting on, and the dude himself is a super cool dude, and I really enjoy them both now. So
yeah,
so
same.
give him a shot. If even if you've already given him a shot and you didn't like him, let him grow on you a little bit. He's maybe an acquired taste.
Yeah, definitely an acquired taste. Wonderful entertainers. So anyways, let's go ahead and move on to our sign-offs. If you guys have any questions or topic suggestions, please leave a comment in either the Reddit thread or in Shark's Discord, where we are quite active every day. Shark, where can they find you?
They can find me. The best place to find me is actually on Discord. And there will be a link below if I remember to poke Jay in the face enough. But you can find me on Twitch. My name is TallSharkandHandsome. You can find me on Eternal as TallSharkandHandsome +4960. I've had a couple of people randomly add me this past week. Oh, actually, there was somebody added me yesterday. Who was it? God, what was their name? I can't even remember. I was going to give them a shout out here today. I think it was Spatula5. Is that who it was? I think I sent it to you, right? Didn't I?
I believe you put it in the Discord.
Gotcha. Let me just pull that up real quick. I wanted to give them a shout out. Apparently not.
So in the meantime, you can find him on Reddit at TallSharkandHandsome, and then on Twitter at SharkandTall, because TallSharkandHandsome wouldn't fucking fit.
That's true. I'm sorry. His name was T Matt2, so it's tattoo with a letter M right after the first T. He said, "Good game. I just wanted to say I randomly downloaded a podcast and recognized your name. I really enjoyed it. Thanks, and keep it up. Super, super awesome. Even if you just like find me in the game to send me a message like that, I love that shit."
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it when people do that as well. I love it when people come into the Discord.
But nobody likes you, Jay. So just send them to me. That's fine.
Okay. Let's slow down here. Just because you're tall,
Jay,
you're sharky, and you're handsome doesn't mean you can talk to me that way, ma'am.
All right, Jay. Where can they find you?
So you can find me on Discord, either in Shark's Discord or BB's Discord, if you happen to be on Bassoon Buffoon's Discord. Or you can find me on my Discord if you happen to watch my one stream a week or so, however often I end up streaming. You can find me at Twitch under JayOSU, where you can have the newly approved bowl cut emote, which is wonderful, for only one Bezo buck or $5 a month. And then on Eternal, I am JayMang +8035, Reddit JayOSU, Twitter at JayOSU, where I never am on, but the account's still there. And so that's where you can find me. Thanks guys for coming. This was
one last thing before we sign off. So I have 566 packs as of this stream right now, because I'm going to want to play a whole bunch of these new cards, and I only have 2,000 Shiftstone. I think my next stream, which is going to be sometime this weekend, I'm going to unbox all 566 packs. I'm sad that it's not 1,000, but I'm going to do some unboxing. And when we get to a legendary, I'm going to stop it, and I'm not going to reveal it yet, but if you guess it, I'm going to give you a free sub to my channel. I'm going to gift you a sub to my channel, paying it out of my own pocket.
Oh, okay. So are you ready to give me another prize?
Well, yeah, only if you guess it right. Only if you guess the legendary right.
Well, of course I'm going to.
Well, then yeah, I will gift it to you, or if you already have one, I will gift it to one of your choosing.
Okay, perfect. That's neat. I like that. Yeah, and I don't blame you for opening those up.
Yeah. So if you guys, want to come hang out and see me open 500 66 or more packs by this weekend. You know, come join. Let me know. Join my Discord, and that'll probably be the best way for me to tell you guys when I'm actually going to start streaming.
Yeah, perfect. All right, guys. So this was episode 13 of the Eternal Struggle. We're probably going to call it something Blitz oriented. Who gives a fuck? New sets coming out. Who gives a shit? Y'all stay average.